If you've been listening to this podcast, you're probably already doing the work, and I'm so grateful for that. You understand energy, you know that you want to call in more money, and you want to expand it through investing. Maybe you've even started investing, or maybe you're even just thinking about it. Either way, we have something called Expanding Money, which is a free 5-part series that I did that is absolutely shifting people's worlds. It takes them from identity and agreement to the things that they don't even know they're agreeing to a place of money neutrality and investing as part of who they are and an effortless way of being. I would say this is the most comprehensive thing that I have seen out there that will actually take you from A to Z in terms of looking at all the checkpoints that are kind of already there in your life now that you could clean up and not have split energy with. Moving from seeing investing as something that's risky to something that is actually a part of you, because by the way, wealthy people, they're not seeing investing as risky. It's really the people who haven't done it. So we have to look at that, right? And setting up new agreements where they aren't full of resistance. Instead, your new agreements are based on who you are now. They're based on money neutrality, and setting up an investing account so that you can move towards freedom. When you are calling in more money and you are using a portion of that money to expand to support you, then what you've done is you have actually pulled energy down and then you've taken it back into the 3D as a way for you to work for you. You must expand money in this economy because it's just the way that it's set up, the cost of living and income and all that. So investing isn't an option anymore, and I would love for it to be a fun, super creative act for you. So all 5 parts are available for you for free on thespiritualinvestor.com/expandingmoney. Welcome to another episode of the Spiritual Investor Podcast, my favorite place to be. And I want to start this out by saying thank you. Thank you for those of you who are here, who've been here. I love the messages. I hear a lot from you, either on social or, inside of the programs. But I also know that there are a lot of you here who are new. And I want to say welcome and thank you. And it is my goal that you're not here seeing me, you're here seeing more of you. And I used to say that my goal with every episode is that you can come here and in a concise, kind of shortened, very dense form, take something out into the world and then move one step further. It's interesting because we've been working with, we hired someone to come in and sort of just look at this podcast and just be like, can we offer the world something that is different or improved? And one of the things that she said is, no, we don't want to change what's working. The only thing we want to do is we want to go deeper into you. And she said, is that still your goal, that you want to have people, just what I said? And I think that the goal is the same for even the book that I'm writing now. The goal is the same for every time I get into a coaching call. It's actually the same for every time I sit in front of another person. And I think it's actually the same goal that you have, which is we are out here trading our energetic currency for whatever form of abundance we choose to call in. Now, sometimes that's health. Sometimes that's money. Sometimes that's, relationships. What we're really looking for is we're looking for the choice, and we're not looking to control our circumstances. What we're looking for is we're looking to be the space so that those things that we want can step in. One of the things we talk about is effortless wealth. One of the things we talk about is money neutrality. And the things that I share here, I don't feel like I'm teaching anything because it's, I don't actually feel like there's a lot out there to be taught. I feel like the wisdom and the knowledge is within you. I feel like what we are doing when we have any type of co-creation environment like this is we are holding up a reflection of, well, maybe you could look at this differently. Um, you know, I feel like I'm really just talking about my life. I'm talking about my life in this form, this structure called the spiritual investor, because really the stories and what I've gone through in my life is exactly what created the spiritual investor 8 years ago. If I hadn't retired early at 39 and built a wealth plan and, you know, discovered horses and had this really diehard Hindu teacher who just took me on for about 5 years during that time, I don't know that I would have brought all of these energetic forces together with finance and spirituality. And had I over analyzed it whenever I started this business, I don't know that I would have been able to do this either. I mean, I really didn't even come up with the name. That I sort of said it out loud and blurted it, and everyone was like, okay, that's it. This has never been something that, I've taken the financial exams and I was, an energy trader, but this is not anything that has been read from a book. And maybe that is part of the resonance for you, because I do feel like there is truth in story, because story is what allows us to see ourselves. When someone gives us a step by step and they're like, and that's what I could not do with the hardcore finance stuff, is like, do this first, do this second, do this third. For me, what I've always seen in that is that to me feels like a disservice, because the moment I tell you what the top 10 best stocks are, the moment I give you the step by step, it's outdated. And so if we're not out here living in a way that's timeless, if we're not out here actually going back to the source of what's going on, because the real work is the frequency and the money is just the result. If we're not doing that, then I don't know that we are offering the value that we could. And I think the higher the value, and we can't really measure energy, so even by saying higher, there's an error in that. But I think the higher the value, and I would say probably the more pure the value, the more that is going to be able to match the greater things that you want in your life. You are in money neutrality right now for whatever amount of money that you find easy to call in. If I say, can you bring in $100 a month? You're probably like, yeah, I don't even think about that. Why even talk about that? Well, if you think about it, that's very consistent. Why? Because you don't have your resistant energy on it. So you're in money neutrality with that amount. What you would like to do is be in money neutrality with $100,000 a month. And there are so many spiritual teachings out there that, start with the end in mind and consider it done and believe that you can have it. And there's a lot that goes in with worthiness and all of that. And all of that is fine. I actually don't think there's one better way than another. However, what we're moving into is instead of it being a concept, we're moving into, what does the self-expression of that look like? And not the self-expression of that, like, I want to go be a yogi in a cave. What does the self-expression of that look like when I live in an and world? When I can be, the best caretaker for my horses, when I can travel half the time, when I can be there for my mother and help her in the transition that she's going in, when I can be an amazing partner in a relationship, when I can go to the gym 3 days a week. What does that all look like, but not having it be as something that I'm doing? Because when you are existing and you're just in your being, then the self-expression of what you want is automatically going on. When you are in the story of what has money been to you in the past, how much money can you have come to you? And this gets really strong when people have fixed incomes. then it's more challenging to navigate around that. Yet until you navigate around that, you're just creating more of the same thing. And while corporate jobs and the fixed income and all that, um, it was the gold standard. And I'm not saying that it's not now. It is for certain people. But it's also what you have to see inside of it is that you've somehow been convinced that that's what you make. And when you are convinced of that, then you're also in agreement that's what you make. And so part of what we talk about in the Spiritual Investor is money and flow is kind of the first step in it if you were to look for any type of 3D action. And you getting that money and flow can then get you to the frequency where you can allow more in, or you can work on the frequency first and then take the action steps in the 3D. I'm always saying, just how can I meet you where you are? Because that's more important than actually superimposing my entire value system on you. And I don't even know that I could do that because my value system, to be honest with you, has gotten very diluted and very weak because my value system is exactly what blocks freedom from me. And I have been brave, especially over the last several years, with letting go of who I think I am, because I'm not sure that I want to go out of this world going, well, guess who I was? Instead, I think I would rather be in awe and discovery and in that curiosity. So it's like something switches where you become more interested in discovering the new version of you who can show up in full love for all the circumstances around you than you do controlling and fixing the circumstances. The more and more that you do that, and you can do this in relationships, you can do this with money. The more that you do that, the more you see that nothing is fixed anyway. A thought is not fixed, right? Someone could feel something one time and then, 5 minutes later feel something else. Things become fixed when we put our attention on them. And my attention can go on them from a place of my illusionary self, which is, I believe this is all the money I have to deal with and I have to make it work, which puts me in fear and makes me feel like every stock I have to buy needs to be the best one. And then I can judge myself and da-da-da. And I'm just operating, I'm swimming in a fishbowl. I can definitely do that, or I can say, well, everything really is a story. I mean, even your most staunch value systems, they are a story. And when those get taken away through a catastrophe in life, or what I call breaking the structure, is something where we systematically take these things away. It's like, who are you when you're suspended in the balance? Because the most important thing is you get to see that you're not unsafe. But no one can show you that you're not unsafe until you show yourself you're not unsafe by moving into it. And all of this, like, it's dynamic. It's not linear. And so if we know that, and we know that energy is energy, and that we're actually giving the energy the meaning, then we can see that money actually has no charge of its own. And that really is the essence of money neutrality. It not having the charge so that then you are the charge. And when you're in money neutrality, it's a lot like when energy moves from one pole of a battery to another, it actually gets called. That's how it works. And so you're calling in, there's a magnetism that occurs because when you're in money neutrality, people can drop their resistance because all his energy is matched. Otherwise, when you're not in money neutrality, you have a certain level of resistance. And whether you know it or not, they're matching that. And so what happens is you being in money neutrality is the calling in of money. It's the greatest opening to money. And that allows people to to mess around and to swim and to feel themselves in your space. And so let's go back to this though. If money has no charge of its own, then how could you ever feel like money is out of your control? In fact, you would have to believe that the opposite is true. You would have to believe if money has no charge and you are the charge because you're source, then you are actually in full control of your money. And part of what goes on, and I talk a lot about this, and it's certainty. So certainty is source. And so when you get behind something with certainty, with the energy of it is done, it's not just about you. It allows other people to feel safe in your energy too. If I tell you, I'm uncertain that I'm going to be in your life, well, that's kind of to a certain degree irresponsible, because I'm not really providing a safe space for you or I. Instead, and like I said, there's no right or wrong here, but instead, there's this thing called certainty hunting that I teach in the mastermind, and it's helped a lot of people in this last round too. You can find something that you can be certain about. Even if you're not certain that you're going to be there in 25 years, you can be certain about the way you're going to show up. So I find, what am I certain about when it comes to money, or when it comes to even you here on this podcast? I am certain that I am going to show up and I am going to be the clearest open space that I can possibly be, and that I would have managed my energy and done the things in my life to be responsible to show up here in certainty that whatever is coming through me, it doesn't belong to me, it belongs to you. And you can rest in that certainty. And that is what I create. And so when you do that with money, it's the same thing as being in money neutrality with the $100. You're certain that you're going to have $100 come in. You don't need to think about it anymore. So it becomes effortless. More and more, what I'm doing in my life is I am disentangling from all the stories, because a story is a story. And what that allows me to do is to be in open space. Now, at first, this can feel like, well, I'm giving up everything I want, because, I'm not saying how much money I want. I'm not saying how I need someone to treat me. I'm not saying how I need the day to go. And I do get it when people say that, because what it can do is, for people that are really they have, I'll say, suffered from the conditioning of people pleasing, which is horrible. That can really be a gray area. I don't suffer from people pleasing. I feel like I've always sort of navigated my own way. I've never felt like I have lost myself, because whatever room I walk in, I'm there. I have felt like I have been under some wicked, wild illusion, and I have been running through life with blinders on, but I still feel myself there. And I think if I ever didn't, I think I would just need to choose to be there. Because I wonder, and this is something for you to see, is it more powerful for you to see that you never lose yourself because you're source, and how could you? But maybe what's happened is you've lost the ability to see that you get to choose. So think of this money neutrality as you are choosing to prioritize working for the energy, because my whole thing is, if you're working for money, you're just working in the 3D, and that's fine. but that requires time and effort. If you're not really working for you, it's just we say that in language. You're working for you if you own your own business or if you're happy with your job or whatever in the 3D. But you're not really working for you, the real you, the source you, until you agree to be responsible for the space that's your energy so that people can step into it and so that you can receive that abundance. Because everything comes from letting go, and your state of allowing is determining what you let in. When someone hugs you or says, I love you, or gives you tons of gifts, like we can feel our own diminished state of allowing. Well, are we just going to say, don't give me gifts? Or are we're going to go back and we're going to shine the flashlight on ourselves and work on that? That's why I'm saying circumstances don't matter. You're just in the experience of what you're in the experience of. And so this calling in of money and this being in money neutrality, which is a state of being, don't think of it as something that you need to get to, because then you put it right back in the 3D. It goes into a hierarchy. Anything we measure puts it right back into 3D. What it is it's a reorganization of energy. And it's where you're choosing that your starting place is not the circumstance. Your starting place is the energy. Because when someone walks in the room, maybe this example will help you. When someone walks in the room and they're powerful, you can feel it. Obama. I don't know that I've ever seen Obama walk in the room and need it to look a certain way or need someone to say a certain way or blah, blah, blah. Obama is there. Obama is there. I feel like he's pretty certain that he's there. And I feel like he's pretty certain on the value that he can deliver. And I feel like he's pretty certain about what he is doing in the world. And because of that, guess what happens? My listening is there. And I am matching up with him. And even more so than that, I have then, in many cases, agreed to go beyond the boundaries of what my previous state of allowing was. People call this trust. These words all mean different things. It's whatever's most powerful for you. But if I'm willing to go deeper, then I'm going to keep leaning in. And I'm not leaning in for them. I'm leaning in because that's actually when I see myself. When I go beyond the boundaries of my own previous state of allowing, the only thing to be discovered on the other side is me, because the only thing that exists in the world is you. And that's what I do. One of the exercises, I walk around on my land and I say, it's me and me, it's me and me. And I bring the power back, and then I do nothing. I don't bring the power back and then orchestrate something in the 3D world. I bring the power back. And then when something shows up in my space, like an opportunity, like I have all these amazing collaborations going on right now. We've been getting on, fabulous podcasts, and I've just met all these people. That's because I create the space. Anyways, hopefully this has helped you see yourself, because that's really the point here. And I appreciate and thank you for co-creating this with me. I would absolutely love it if you left a comment here and told it, especially because we're going through this sort of learning about how we can better provide this information to you, or if you give us a rating and review. So much love to you. I'll see you on the next episode.